Hello, have you got depression, anxiety, arthritis, and I'm also going to throw in something about diabetes that I have just learned. So in fact, all of this I have just learned and I am so excited and I really wanted to share this because I'm just surprised at what I didn't know. And I've been working with these conditions for a long time. So I'm spreading the news. So is there a single vitamin? A single vitamin that could help with depression, anxiety, and arthritis. And to a lesser extent, diabetes, but I'll go through that in a minute. Now, the answer is yes. And I'll tell you what that is in a moment, but I'll tell you the journey that I've been on over the past 7 days. Okay, one of my patients who I'm helping with improving his cholesterol levels, fatty liver, and there's a particular combination of nutrients we put him on, and I know which one it is that's causing his good effect. Basically, when he takes it, his pain goes away for a couple of hours. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. I've heard about other things helping with it, but this one, okay. So I looked up and it's like, oh my word, this helps with arthritis. That's quite amazing. And so I did a bit more digging, and then I went and I learned from a guy called Dr. Andrew Saul this week, and I learned a whole lot more about this particular vitamin, which got me into the depression and anxiety. And because this is currently the end of Mental Health Awareness Week, I thought I would do this, but I'd do the whole thing. So I've got to thank Dr. Andrew Saul, and I've also got to thank Dr. Brian Walsh for some of what I'm about to share. And then that in turn is based on the work of Dr. Hoffman and Dr. Kaufman. So what is this vitamin, first of all? Okay, now the thing is, the chances are if you're taking a multivitamin mineral, if you're taking a B complex, you're already taking this, but in nowhere near a high enough dosage. Okay, and I'm going to go through the pros and cons. Vitamin B3. I hope you can read that. Let's also just do this. So vitamin B3. Okay, and there are two forms of it. Okay, that are commonly available. Okay, there is a third form, but I'm not going to talk about it. Okay, niacin. Okay, and I'm going to tell you all about the doses that you need to take this to have an effect. Niacin is a form of vitamin B3, and it causes a flush, and basically redness. You look like a beetroot, basically. And this has actually got many benefits for detoxification processes, and it might be slightly better than the flush-free version for anxiety. But imagine the flush, it doesn't last very long, 40 minutes. If you take a high dose, which you'll need to take a high dose, can be unpleasant. But if you move around and exercise, and especially if you're going to sauna and sweat as well, if sauna and sweating is applicable for you, then it's not a problem. But if you're trying to sit at a desk and do some work, you're gonna not feel very good. Irritable, can also drop your blood pressure a lot as well. So if you've got high blood pressure and lots of medication. Anyway, so with the niacin version, okay, if you're going to take the niacin version, you start at a very small dose, much closer to the RDA, and you take it with food, and you slowly build it up. I'm telling you this all right at the beginning, so you know. Okay, you've had the warning about niacin, it can cause a flush. Lots of people, they go, what on earth has happened? And you may be really worried if you weren't already pre-warned about what niacin can do to you, but it does disappear. And if you exercise, move around, get into a hot shower, things like that, it's not going to be as bad. You're going to get over it quickly. And also, if you find it does actually make you feel really good, despite the unpleasantness, and the other version doesn't work, then over time the flush gets less, the flush happens less, and you can take higher doses. Now, the other form is called niacinamide. Okay, there's no hyphen, I've just put that in there. So niacinamide. Okay, and niacinamide is the flush-free version of niacin, and is probably better for depression, and is probably better for arthritis as well, probably. Now, and they're both fairly cheap, okay? And with anything there, if you're about to take this in a really high dose, which is what I'm going to talk about, then you must check to make sure that it's not interacting with any medication you're on, or it's not going to interfere with any health problems you have. The same with the other nutrients I'm just going to mention as we go along here as well that work with this. So niacin. So why is it so incredibly important, and why am I mentioning it with all these different conditions? Well, because of the fact that you need vitamin B3 to make energy from glucose, from sugar. So any carbohydrates that you're eating, okay, if you haven't got enough vitamin B3, you cannot make energy from it, okay? And also when you are converting other things into sugar to then create energy, if you haven't got enough vitamin B3, that's a problem. Now you also, and every single cell in your body needs energy, okay? And also vitamin B3, its active forms, works at other stages in the energy process as well. So whether you're making energy from fats, or proteins or sugars, at the end of the day, you need this, okay? It's very, very important. So if you haven't got enough energy for your liver to work, you can't detoxify properly, you can't make anti-inflammatories. If you haven't got enough energy in your brain, then maybe you're not going to feel too clever. Maybe you're going to be depressed and anxious. Maybe your heart's not going to work very well. Maybe your blood vessels aren't going to work very well. Maybe you're not going to repair very easily. But it's not just used for energy production. It's also needed for you to actually produce certain fats and make fats, and to turn one kind of fat into another kind of fat. And basically we need fats. Fats are good, the right kinds of fats. But if you can't actually convert and make the right kinds of fats, then you can't make things like, natural anti-inflammatories, for instance. Then also you need vitamin B3 for protein synthesis. So building muscle, for instance, kind of important. And lots and lots and lots of other processes in the body. So without vitamin B3, you can't create energy, you can't convert fats, you can't make proteins. Your body is not going to work. So the body has another way of making some extra niacin if needed, okay, by converting a protein called tryptophan. Now tryptophan you might have heard of if you are depressed and anxious, because tryptophan it's an amino acid. We get it in our diet. Dark meat from turkey, the dark meat from chicken, and also 2 handfuls of cashew nuts actually gives you a medicinal amount of tryptophan. So you don't actually necessarily need to ever take tryptophan as a supplement. I've just found out, if you're eating enough, if you take like large amounts of, for instance, cashew nuts. So vegans, because lots of time I tell people turkey, dark meat from chicken, but I just learned, cashew nuts. So very good. Anyway, so tryptophan, okay, it can actually be converted to B3. But you also need tryptophan to make serotonin. And serotonin, if you're depressed or anxious, you may have already heard of. It's something that is one of the chemicals in your brain that makes you feel happy, feel good. It's one of your feel-good molecules. And so if you haven't got enough B3, then your body's going to convert tryptophan to B3 and less to serotonin. So, for instance, if you have a really high sugar diet, lots of carbohydrates, you're going to use up all your B3 just trying to convert the sugar to all kinds of different things. And you're going to run out and not make enough tryptophan. And also it's going to create inflammation, so you're going to need B3 in all kinds of other ways. Anyway, so tryptophan is converted to serotonin. Serotonin is one of the feel-good things, and that's what a lot of antidepressants work on. And also the antidepressant amitriptyline is often given to people with chronic pain, with arthritis, because it acts as in pain relief as well. And what nutritionists have found is when you actually give tryptophan with vitamin B3, okay, so you give tryptophan as a supplement, but there's no need to, just eat more cashew nuts and dark meat, not dark meats, but the dark meat from chicken and turkey. There are other areas you can get tryptophan as well. But if you give tryptophan and B3 together, then basically more tryptophan gets converted to serotonin, because no tryptophan has to get converted to B3 because you've got enough B3. So B3, very, very good. So this possibly explains in a lot why B3 may be so good, but you actually have to really put a lot more B3 than you get in the RDA, because the RDAs, these recommended daily allowances, are literally based on the amount you need to not get the deficiency disease. And the direct deficiency disease of vitamin B3 is called pellagra. Okay, and you don't want pellagra, and so that's what the RDA is to protect you, to make sure you don't get pellagra. But the optimal amount to really drive your system is much higher. And a lot of this original work was discovered by Dr. Abraham Hoffman, who is a Canadian psychiatrist, and he was apparently a friend of the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, and Bill W. And anyway, Bill still had depression and fatigue, and when Dr. Abraham Hoffman put him on high dose niacin, within 2 weeks, his depression and his fatigue went. So he went and told a lot of his ex-alcoholic friends who were depressed as well, take this vitamin. And within 2 weeks, a third of them were completely recovered. Another 2 weeks later, so after a month of being on high dose niacin therapy, another third got a lot better. And then the other third didn't have so much of a response. So if 60% of depression in alcoholics is related to B3 deficiency, Dr. Abraham Hoffman went on and tried it in all kinds of other, with people who weren't alcoholics. Found it could also be really helpful for all kinds of mental health issues. So, and not just in adults, but also children as well. Schizophrenics, found it was very useful in combinations with different things. But what I'm going to share is basically the depression, anxiety, and also skip to the arthritis as well, and then a little bit on diabetes. So what he recommends for depression is 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day. Okay, and that's then take the niacinamide version, because the niacin version, 1,000 milligrams, will blow your head off if you try and take that straight away. So if you do want to try the flush form, just because you're a bit of an experimenter, you want to see what it's like, then start at a very small dose and take it with food as well. But the niacin, again, you might want to start off at a smaller dose first of all, because this is still way in advance of the RDA. So you may want, and often you can get 500 milligram capsules rather. And so what you can do is you can take 500 milligrams 3 times a day if you want to at first. But this is the amount. But he also recommends, because where you need B3, you tend to need the other B vitamins as well. So he also recommends you take a B complex just at the normal doses 3 times a day as well. So with the B50, so 50% of the RDA, and you take 1 at breakfast, 1 at lunch, 1 at dinner. It could be a bit less as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be that, but you probably don't need to take B100 and this as well. But you can try it if you want to, because with B vitamins, very often you pee them out when you're not using them, but they're depleted very quickly. So you need to keep putting them back in, which is why it's not just a 3,000 milligram dose at once, where it's not taking lots of B vitamins in the morning. You take it throughout the day. And we're going to get more into that in a minute with diabetes and arthritis. So that's the protocol, okay, but there's also one other thing you should take, which is some extra vitamin C as well. So take some extra vitamin C, whether it's 250 milligrams 3 times a day, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. If you suffer a lot with kidney stones, you might want to consult with your doctor first before upping your vitamin C. Maybe even want to try a smaller amount 3 times a day. But there are some vitamin C therapies that go much, much higher. If you're taking too much vitamin C, then you tend to get very loose bowels. Okay, so most people can take a few grams before that happens, but just maybe try 250 to 500 milligrams of vitamin C 3 times a day. You take 1,000 milligrams of niacin 3 times a day, or niacinamide rather, 3 times a day, and also take a B complex, maybe a B50, 3 times a day as well. And that should be safe for just about everybody, but please check against medication, etc. Now for arthritis, this is the work of Dr. Kaufman, and this is back from 1936. And again, I thank Dr. Andrew Saul for finding out about this, or for telling me, or learning from him. And so the dose for that is 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Not 3 times a day, 6+ times a day. So you're taking it sort of often throughout the day. So it could be every hour and a half, it could be every 2 hours. You keep it basically pumping up, pumping up, pumping up, pumping up. So 500 milligrams, 6 or more times a day, and still with the B vitamins and the vitamin C, as I told you there. And the next thing was diabetes, because while I was listening to a podcast all about niacin from Dr. Andrew Saul, he also mentioned that because you need B vitamins, as I've mentioned, in sugar production, or not sugar, converting energy from sugar and getting the proper sugar glucose metabolism going, it's actually really good to take the B vitamins instead of, again, just at lunchtimes. You take it more often. So, but you don't have to increase the dose. You just divide the doses so you're getting it happening slowly throughout the day. So you can take a B50 pill and you can break it in two, and you can even split it into four. Take it every hour, every 90 minutes, every 2 hours, but just take a small amount, but keep on taking it throughout the day. So if you've got arthritis, for instance, you're taking 500 milligrams, every couple of hours, every 90 minutes, every couple of hours, then basically take a small amount of B complex as well. So not 50, not B50 or B100 all the time, but just like break the capsule up or break the pill up into little bits and just have little bits throughout the day. And there are other things as well, obviously with diabetes, look at your diet, etc. So give this a go, and I'd really like to, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and if you do try this for a couple of weeks and let me know. Give me some feedback, because I would really like to know how effective this protocol is for depression, for arthritis, and how quickly does it work. So please give me feedback if you're going to try it. Give me feedback, and also please, if you do have pre-existing other health conditions, make sure you consult with a doctor or a healthcare professional before you try it. If this isn't enough and you do need more help, especially if you've got diabetes or the arthritis and it's not quite working, then please feel free to reach out to me at Body in Balance or at the Pain Relief Centres, or you can phone us on 01 707 662 704. And yes, we do work internationally thanks to YouTube and Zoom. Okay, be well, and please leave a comment below. I'd love to know how well this works for everyone.